of a presentation about I-200 and why it's important. There'll be more in-depth information a little bit later today, but just want to give you an overview of the importance of I-200 and its background. And with that, I'd like to bring forward Nat Jackson. Nat was on the staff for Governor Dan Evans for 10 years, I believe, and helped write a lot of procurement protocols and rules and regulations, and is aware of what the procedures and processes were at that time. So he'll be able to just give us just a quick 5-minute overview, and then we'll move right into our next guest. We appreciate you hanging, and we'll get going. So just a quick 5-minute overview, please. Thank you. Nat.
Thank you so very much, and thank you all of the ministers who put this together, Reverend Banks and all of the colleagues. I want to thank all of the agency directors here, Chris Liu and Teresa Bernstein. I also want to honor my own bishop, Bishop Obi, my pastor in the back. Let me tell you that God has been good to me. I come up on 3/4 of a century of life in a few months. Some of you may have seen me on the Steve Harvey show setting a national record for jumping rope at the fastest over 70 years old. But I'm not here to talk about that. Let me say that this is a day that the Lord has made.
Yes.
Why are we talking about I-200? I-200 is the initiative that repealed equal opportunity in state procurement. The real money is in the contracting. It's in the billions of dollars. There is money in jobs, but it's in the billions of dollars that are spent by this state procuring all kinds of items. And we want the opportunity for our children to participate in that. I'm reminded about the Misa tribe of Africa. They didn't ask, how are you doing? They asked in their greeting, how are the children?
Yes. Right. Yes.
40 to 45 years ago, I was in this tall building working for equal opportunity. And I can't tell you how many times I was sick into the stomach when I heard Executive Order 11246 quoted on various contracts. We are an equal opportunity employer, and we do not discriminate based on race, creed, colors, national origin, etc. But then when I went out to look at jobs, there were no blacks anywhere on highway construction projects, on state government jobs here on the campus, on the maintenance crew. There were no blacks participating. There were no black contractors. CPAs couldn't get jobs, the few that were certified in those days and qualified to do the work. Let me tell you the problem. 100% of the work went to white males in business. African Americans got less than 1/10.
That's right.
As a matter of fact, minorities got less than 1/10 of 1% before 1977. Less than 1/10 of 1% of the billions of dollars spent by the state in procurement. Our children got less than 1/10 of 1%. And then we said we got to change that. So I put together a coalition of people, all are dead except Barbara Poole, Steve Poole's mother. And I think Barbara's ill right now, suffering a little from Alzheimer's. Bless her heart. But we put together a coalition, and God would have it, they're all dead except Nat Jackson.
That's right.
And I'm not just standing here, I'm standing here probably with the #1 cardio system in the United States based on the jump rope record I set on national TV. That's not what I'm going to talk about though. I want you to know that we set out to deal with this quagmire.
Right.
It's unfair, it's immoral to leave us out completely. And so we move forward with legislation. It started with an executive order.
Right.
I was the person who took this order in after participating in reading it, writing it to Governor Evans on the last day of his administration. And we had an argument. His argument was that I don't want to sign quotas, that I don't want to sign anything late as I leave this office. And then I looked at the door, and there were 4 heads sticking through the door, one ahead of the other, to see if I was going to be thrown out on my neck. Nobody would go in with me.
That's right. Scared.
And that executive order was signed. I said to the governor, I said, Governor, I grew up on a white man's plantation in Louisiana as a son of a sharecropper.
Right.
I took books that was used from the white schools to get my education.
Right.
Half of them. I took used crayons and pencils. And I watched my mother call auntie and my dad call a boy
Boy. Yeah.
by the least educated whites among us. I saw and lived with the humiliation. So God gave me the strength and the iron in my spine to stand up. And I said, Governor, it's for our children.
That's right.
They've been robbed. They've been denied an education and food on the table. And I think you ought to set a precedent and sign this order.
Right.
He looked at me and took that left hand and he signed the order. Here's the order. Now I want to tell you what's the significance of these orders. When you can't do it by law, when law ignores your cause, as we've been ignored in trying to reverse and repeal I-200. We came with the votes in the Senate to repeal it. Jesse Weinberg will talk about this afternoon. We came with the votes to repeal it. But the reading was that if we voted to repeal it on the Senate side, that we could lose the majority. And the bill didn't come up on the floor.
Right.
On the other hand, we've gone into the lion's den and fought with Republicans for 10 days.
Right.
I had a host who gave you a prayer, was here with me every day at 10 o'clock at night, lobbying, pulling legislators off the floor saying, please get rid of this terrible law,
Right.
I-200. This state, under the OMWBE law, which was passed as a result of these executive orders, had moved us up. Now remember, this went into law. Senator Fleming introduced the bill.
Right.
Governor Spellman introduced the legislation. And we had gotten, in this young lady's agency over here, the Office of Minority and Women Business Enterprise, Teresa Bernstein, we'd gotten up to 13%. I-200 took us back to 0, people.
Right.
Let me tell you what she said in a Senate testimony a few days ago. She said that we have lost, I believe it was $3.5 billion in the black community and other minority communities because of I-200.
Right.
So we cannot wait. As I had a hostess said in a prayer, we can't wait. We must now go to the governor and get executive request legislation repealing and replacing I-200.
Right.
We must go to the Senate, to the Supreme Court, if we don't get it there. But we must repeal I-200, and we must have equal opportunity and participation for our children.
Yeah. Right.
And our children's children. Thank you so very much, and God bless all of you.
Thank you. Thank you. Now we'll have greetings from the Executive Director of Commission of African American Affairs, Ed Prince.